Hi, I am Laura, the founder of New Earth Practitioners. I'm here with Melanie DewBerry, talking about intuition and her journey with intuition. And thank you so much, Melanie, for joining us. I am curious, what was the significant turning point in your intuitive journey?
I think there are two. One, when I had psychic moments and it scared me. So I turned that off. Then the intuition started to kick in. The intuition was already there. But once when I was on, as your listeners may not know, I'm part of an indigenous world. And one of the things we do, one of our biggest ceremonies is called Sundance. Before you can be a sun dancer, you have to do a vision quest 4 times. On one of my vision quests, the thunder beings came to me. I was sitting up. They showed me 2 worlds. One was gray and full of chaos. Children were not being fed, molested, elders abused. The second world was like the women elders were sitting under apple trees, teaching the children. There was love, sharing, and beauty. And then I came out of that world and there's like, which world do you want to go to? And I'm like, are you kidding? The world of beauty, hello. And they're like, go back to the first world and change it. And I was like, ah, I'm like yelling at nothing. I'm like, what am I supposed to do? How am I supposed to do? That night I heard, we'll send help. I realized I'm the help. We have a collective. So that was the big thing. I told people, some would bat their eyes like, oh, sure. And these people are not my friends anymore. I thought, I'm going to listen to my intuition. I'm not going to let others reprogram me.
And so through that experience, what that really did for you is basically validate that intuition and being able to trust that intuition and find that path. Has that led you to where you're at now, basically?
Wow, you asked really great questions, thought-provoking questions. Where that's led me to, when I was with my coaching clients, my intuition was always on, but I didn't think about it. I could just hear what wasn't being said. So that has led to trusting it, not trying to convince anybody of it. I use it in every single minute of my life. I never tried to think it through. I feel it through my intuition. I use my brain, but I just use it for intuition.
Right.
Rather than trying to figure it out, I just go, they'll tell me, just be quiet and listen. And that's how I use it every day.
I'm so glad you shared that, because what my experiences have been around that intuitive kind of like, you don't think it through, because then we're just on this hamster wheel of trying to figure it out. And then the fear kicks in and all the different scenarios, where intuition, when you sense it, when you open up to it, it's really efficient.
That's right. It's efficient.
Yes.
That's right.
And the other thing about it, you've been doing this for a while, so the efficiency and accuracy. It doesn't mean accuracy in a way of, I think people have an idea of intuition, or they think open to it. It's not necessarily easy, right? It's growthful. There can be challenges, but there's a level of, I can't even put the word to it, a sense of purpose or meaning. There's meaningfulness around it. It reminds me of eating food. You can eat fast food and feel gross, or you eat something healthy and maybe it's not even something that tastes that great. That's me. So my God.
I'll eat it if it's healthy. I don't care.
And then you feel great. Eventually you stop wanting food that's not good for you. I call it laying down tracks. This is a whole study I'm doing where it becomes stronger over time. Yeah.
Without a doubt.
And clearer and even more accurate. Wow. So what are the benefits or gifts have you discovered through working with your intuition?
Oh, good question. There's so many. One of the benefits is not having to rely on my brain for everything. And overthinking, maybe for some people, I'm married to a techie, so he uses his brain a lot, and that's fine in the tech field and all that. Condemn nobody. But for me, if I'm going to think about something, it's going to be gelato with chocolate chip or Oreo cookie. I want my intuition to tell me what to say, what to expect, where to go, how to show up, what needs to be said, all the things that matter, but it's not brain power. I'm not a scientist. Maybe it is related to brain power, but it's more of a trusting of a conversation that is working to support my growth, my evolution, deepen my love and my awareness. Why go anywhere else when it's all there?
I totally agree with you. I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm someone that loves to learn. I'm curious and I do research, but I see my brain as a tool. You pick up the tool and you use it for certain things. It's great with math. We're in this crux as AI comes on, not wanting to go down that rabbit hole, but just touching on this. We're in the process right now where we have technology that will super surpass us in all those abilities. Those that identify with their brain will have a crisis of identity. This is why New Earth practitioners, in bringing forward the intuition piece, is so important for us as practitioners. What I mean by that is that it's really efficient. And going back to what you just said, the parts that are so important to us as human beings in relationship to nature and to each other and to the ethereal plane, the spiritual realm, to God or source. Intuition is connected to all those things.
Right.
All those things. And I find there's different types of intuitions. For example, listening to your heart resonates because intuition serves us. Your intuition serves you and is in your highest good. But the beauty of it is that it serves you, but it's not in service over someone else, hurting someone else.
It's not for the ego.
It's in alignment with
Yeah.
the collective. And that's the beauty of it. Being in touch with those aspects of ourselves is part of the human dynamic.
100%.
And we're moving into that space because intellect will be taken over by technology.
That's going to be painful for some people, especially those who have high intellect. The intuition, it really is that internal guiding system where you don't have to second guess anymore. It's the way I heard where my mother's cancer was when doctors couldn't find it. I'm like, it's here and here. I just felt it. We don't have to know everything. We just have to be present.
Yes.
Be present for what we need. Doesn't change our thinking. It opens us up.
When you said that, what clicked for me was that we don't have to store this stuff into our prefrontal cortex and different parts of our brain, which is actually small, but we're able to access higher intelligence or divine wisdom that surpasses us in a way that we haven't even discovered yet. We have no idea quite yet. That's a whole other realm and evolution for us to go into. So that's exciting. Wow.
I had not thought about the AI influence as well as you have. I'm just like, we'll see how this goes.
Yeah. AI does not have intuition at this time.
No.
Is there an unexplained event that you might like to share?
Unexplained event. That's a good question.
That you feel comfortable to sharing.
Okay, let me just think. Well, I don't know if it's unexplained, but I want to answer this because this sounds so yummy. Unexplained event. Oh yeah, wait, hold on. Something's coming. Maybe. Oh, I was dating this guy who had been chasing me for a long time. And I was like, no, I hadn't seen him for years. He reached out to me. It's been a long time since I've seen him. Maybe I've changed. Maybe he's changed. We started dating and he could not wait to diminish me. He'd lost 80 pounds. He bought my old size clothing with a magazine called More for plus size women. He put that magazine in there. It's really bad. I don't do that anymore. He would go, why don't you just eat a full one, a full fat one? Who are you kidding? Then I had to go to work one evening. I worked a day job in nonprofit and he was out with his ex-girlfriend. I found out and we were engaged, besought with sadness. He worked so hard to shrink me and he did. And he said to me when we broke up, you should learn to love yourself. And I was like, that is absolutely right, MFer, because I am never going to be with anybody like you. I moved to New Mexico thinking I was going to stay with my tribe, but I didn't love New Mexico because I came back. I met my husband online. I forgot the name of the site, one of the first ones. Within 30 seconds, I knew he was the one. And we got married on our third date. Explain that to me. How did I know he was the one in 30 seconds when I didn't know after 10 years with this other loser? I still see him and it makes me laugh. Thank God you did what you did. I wouldn't have gotten so clear on my value.
It's such a wonderful experience when you follow that.
It was so unexpected. I was on a phone call in Santa Barbara. I was working in Santa Barbara and then we decided to get engaged. This was considered our third date, the phone call.
So I'm curious. I'm sure you've talked to him about it. So obviously he felt the same.
Yes, I hope.
I would think so. He's a tech guy. For example, I mentioned this last time when you and I were talking about my dear friend. Her husband's a science teacher, and he's about to retire, but he's a science guy. He knows what I do. The last time I spent time with him, he took me to the side to talk to me, almost like this whisper about how he follows his intuition. And he uses this sensing intuition, and he married my dear friend. They've been married for quite a while. He saw her across the street and he heard this voice, go meet her.
Yeah, young man.
It's so sweet when he talks about it. Confession. I'm just the science guy. I'm sure he talked to her about it because we're in the same area. It's wonderful when that happens. I want to share something else that was really fun. I keep talking to my husband about this. We live on the water right now. I want to live in a house where I hear seagulls and I smell the water. And I'm not kidding. This house that I'm living,
Oh my God.
it was never on, it was never posted. It literally chased me down by someone. We're renting this house on the water. The reason I'm sharing this is that even the intuition and the efficiency and allowing ourselves to have the magic, to have the awe, to have the stuff that we are told as children. I have a degree in psychology, and what happens is that as children, we're taking the magical thinking isn't real. Yes, there's imagination. There's certain aspects to that's true, but we just invalidate everything. You create this element of self-doubt. When these things happen, people ignore it or they just poo it or anything like that. And what I'm trying to bring forward and seeing that your story with meeting your husband and how wonderful that is, and even the situation that you shared about that 10-year process help you to get really clear, I think, and around you need to love yourself, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
through that, it opened the door to your love.
Yeah. Totally. Desire or intention will bring forward that which we are willing to accept, receive, and such. And can I say something about just tell him, I met the 13th astronaut, Edgar Mitchell, in Bali. We were at an event having breakfast and talking. He created noetic science. He was telling me about his intuitive experience after he came home from the moon, that he had this epiphany and his whole world changed. And he used only his intuition to navigate. He's no longer of this world anymore. But I was fascinated by all of those examples he gave. So he's not alone, your friend. He's not alone.
I think there's a lot of people out there, and this is also the mission of New Earth practitioners. So many people out there in the sciences, doctors have experiences they keep to themselves because of our society. And what it does is that it really takes away and keeps us from having that awe or that feeling of magic of there's something beautiful in the world and we need to have more beauty.
We do.
So thank you for sharing that. I wish I was there with you.
I had no idea who he was. That felt terrible.
That is so cool.
And I was a member of Noetic Science at the time.
Really? That's really, wow. Talk about synchronicities.
I'd never seen him before. I'd gone to their events.
Wow.
That's exactly the word synchronistic. Yep.
That is so cool. So I would like to get your opinion. What do you think keeps us from using our intuition more often?
First of all, it gets poo-pooed. LinkedIn is now calling it woo. It used to be woo. Woo-woo was a stigma. Oh, she's woo-woo or he's woo-woo. So if you aren't, sorry, let me back up and say, if you're stigmatizing, if you've been stigmatized by where you work, people you know about something, that is because, and they want you to stop. Because if you stop using the things that you know, your intuition being one of them, then you're not under anybody else's control. You're aligned with source. You're aligned with love. You're aligned with beauty. You're aligned with truth. You're aligned with love. And they can't program you. So of course they make it wrong. There's that shaming factor of, oh, she's intuitive or he's intuitive. That shaming factor keeps platforms like LinkedIn now calling it woo. So we can be easily programmed to do things not aligned with our soul or our intuition. We just block it out. It's not healthy.
Yes. That could open up a whole conversation around that, around when we're out of touch with our intuition. Since you mentioned LinkedIn, you're at a job interview and this seems like a good job or a situation. It could be a date or anything where your intuition, your gut's going off, but on the surface, it looks good. And you proceed, generally, it's not a good thing. When we're not in touch with the sensing intuition, keeps you safe. We're walking through the world blindfolded. And
We're
then,
always going to second guess ourselves.
and then because of that, we're looking for someone else to help guide us, right? So we're always looking for someone else's opinion. Not saying that guidance is inappropriate at time, but
Totally.
yeah, but even that, if you're going to see a shaman and your gut's telling you no, it's best to listen to that. Intuition empowers.
They don't want you to have that because they can't manage you.
Yeah. Besides all the other pieces of what intuition does, it helps you find the path in alignment with your highest good and purpose. If you're not in touch with your intuition, then you can be used by other people for their benefit. Yeah, we know where that story has gone to in so many ways of how other people are benefiting off of so many people. And I think about it also in health and wellness. People are overworked, tired, not eating well, sick. These aspects take us away from their intuition.
Absolutely.
When you're in survival, depleted.
And money, at least in North America, the emphasis on money, we are a debtor nation. We don't teach people to save. Got to have more of it to have more. And you should want more. And so when that kind of consciousness is what's governing us in every way, going to the best schools, training, and the money it costs, money, we got to have more money. I love money. It goes with everything in this house. You know what I'm saying? I love money. Yeah. It's not about how it's used to persuade us to behave a certain way in order to have that job, that relationship, that experience. And that's just, I don't know, wrong's the only word I can go with. It's confusing and dismantling our way of being. Can you imagine if we had to tell a tree that? You can stay, but I'm going to cut off all your limbs and I'm going to take all your leaves and put you down to the stump, but you can still be a tree.
Yeah.
But I'm not a tree without limbs, leaves, roots, and soil. I'm not that.
That creation of anxiety of I have to do this to get this, and I have to have this to have happiness. Not that we shouldn't have things. I agree with you. It's not about money.
Yes.
Per se. It is all the lies around it that mesmerize us like a snake into the storyline that we have to do these things to support the capitalistic system that grinds us and keeps us away from our natural way of being.
Makes us feel a sense of relevance built on how much you're earning, which can go at any time. The stock exchange going under. It's like that.
These things will bring value to who you are instead of understanding by being we have value.
That's when it's an invitation to arrogance and indifference. Intuition rooted in clarity, awareness, and care of self and other can move you closer on the spectrum of love. Also doesn't a lot. So we have to be aware of where are we on the spectrum? And how often are we in the place of love and care so that intuition can be there? And what distracts us? Just to be aware in the moment. Who's speaking? The ego voice speaks too, it's loud. Intuition isn't loud unless you're in danger.
There's so much to tease out of that. I think for us to dispel this idea that we can't trust intuition, understanding what intuition is not.
Mm.
Intuition is not your intellect. And intuition isn't your emotions. For example, anxiety does not mean the thing is going to happen. It's usually a storyline that you have going on your head. It's a story of stuff happening. There's a lot of confusion. I had this talk with this guy and I was telling him about what I do. I have to go into this storyline in the beginning because I've had to overcome some of my stuff. I would literally say, okay, here we go in my head. I was talking to him about intuition. He goes, oh, fast thinking and slow thinking. I said, no, this isn't about thinking. I'm using the word intuition on a meaningful way. And the thinking piece is very masculine, and thinking is God. Thinking is the pinnacle of our existence. Humans are the pinnacle of all existence. We are the superior beings.
Yeah. Fast thinking, slow thinking. I never heard of that.
I lost my train of thought. Okay, going back to that distrust and confusion around what intuition is, and going back to how you think about the time that you really was like, okay, this is so clear. I'm going to start trusting my intuition. And through your journey of trusting your intuition, it gets clearer and it's faster. And in a lot of ways, it's more accurate. The confusion is that it has to always be big. It could
Yeah,
be day-to-day things. Should I eat?
that's right. I use it like that as well as the rare things. What do I want? What do I feel like eating? You can't feel that in your stomach.
Right.
That's not where that information is coming from. I'll literally open the refrigerator and I'm like, what should I have? I think that's a great analogy.
What a great conversation. There's so much here. So, in your experience working with your clients, what is the main block you're finding with that around their intuition, around trusting themselves?
Like I said earlier, they don't
Oh,
have intuition. My mother, my grandmother had intuition. I don't have intuition, or I don't know how to get access to it. That's not a problem. Everything's learnable. If you want it, you'll be willing to learn it. Sometimes people don't believe they have it. Sometimes people think I only have it sporadically. I'm like, no, you just got to build the muscle.
the difference between me and someone else is that I've gone to the intuitive gym.
Yes.
I'm glad you brought that up because that is something, another bubble that I'm out there popping, because there's a lot of people doing performative, intuitive things based on the ego.
The ego is so pervasive and convincing. It can lure you in a minute. And you think, here's the difference between the ego and the soul. And intuition lives over on the soul side, right? If ever you're feeling emboldened, righteous, you are nowhere near the soul.
Yes.
Intuition never tells you, look how fantastic you are, and you're so profound, and oh my God, you can hear everything. It's actually quite the opposite. It's humbling. And humbling doesn't mean that there isn't any sense of not speaking about it. There's no hiding, but it's not performative. It's not trying to get you to like me or acknowledge me. It's a very humbling experience.
When you've been doing the work you've been doing over time, there's a level of potency you can develop.
Yes.
So there is the potency piece of time and development. I think of it like wine. Potency is a level of effectiveness. It's being able to be effective. It goes back to the notion of the more you use your intuition, you create these grooves, this channel of intuitive being. If you're a martial artist, eventually you get to that point where you don't have to think about it. There's a level of mastery. What happens at one point in that process is that you have the ego stepping into the room that you have to contend with. I move more into service. When you're a parent and you have kids, you're in service to your children. You're taking care of them. You want them to grow to be healthy adults. Unless you're a narcissist parent, you're not going, look at me, I'm so great, doing that to the kid. You're just in service to your child and you love that child and you're hoping for them. I'm just trying to use this analogy. When you develop enough to move more into service, to understand that you're here to serve, that is an honor. I've been thinking, oh gosh, Melanie. Honestly, I've been terrified for a long time about doing this New Earth practitioners. I've meditated on it. It goes back to the ego, right? I don't want to get caught up in that, or teaching even. It's this thing I've been working through. Like, how do you keep moving forward and not have that ego come in? And for me, what I find, and maybe you have a different perspective of this, is service. When I bring in service, when I come from a place of service, I'm coming from a place of humble, not self-deprecating humble. That's
Yeah.
different. That's fake humble.
Yeah, that's ego.
It's from a place of service, an idea of purpose and value to help the collective.
The ego for me is loud, and I do my best to hear it. Even replaying thoughts or scenarios, that the ego is brilliant at, to drag me back into something that happened long ago, maybe never resolved, but the lack of resolution is also resolution. So it's done. I just have to be aware and do my best. I love the idea of being in service, even if I'm being paid for my work, like when I do the soul naming for women entrepreneurs, even if I'm being paid. In terms of service, I always give, I try to give more than expected, not to impress anybody, but because more is available in business. I have access to it. So I let the information keep coming. If it's still flowing, I'm going to give them all of it because it will serve them.
Yeah.
I understand that. And the going around part, I get that.
So anyway, that was a side note, but I thought that is, we went to that point. So I think this is good. I love it. I'm hoping to have more conversations with you.
I'd love to.
Thank you so much, Melanie.
Oh, Laura, I really appreciate you having me.
Thank you.
All right.